And thank you so much for being here with us this week. Really looking forward to getting the chance to speak with you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You got it. Absolutely. So first things first, what was your reaction to the primary win? You really did well in the primary with the voters of the district. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, I felt good going into Tuesday. You know, we worked so hard. We knocked on tens of thousands of doors, made tens of thousands of calls. But I did not expect the resounding, the 38% that we got on that first night. And so I'm just so thankful to all the voters for coming out and making your voices heard in a record turnout for a municipal primary. So we're on the right track, although we still have a lot of work to do. And of course, to the volunteers, to all of the supporters who were there by my side, and to my family, who I am just so blessed to have had with me every single step of the way. Just grateful all around.
You know, you mentioned your family right there. I wanted you to tell everybody about your upbringing here in the Bronx, because I know your family played such a large part in who you are today. Tell us a little bit about the role they played.
Absolutely. So I was born and raised in the neighborhood in District 14. And actually I lived across the street when I was born. My parents live across the street from MS 390 and 396, PS 396, and which was one of the poll sites this time around. And so, you know, for me, I always start with that image that in that building and other buildings. I also lived on Andrews Avenue. I lived on University. These are the formative years, right? My family came to the United States from the Dominican Republic in the 1970s. I was raised in that neighborhood, and one of my earliest memories is of a big raging fire that went off in the middle of the night, and waking up to my mom screaming and shouting, because in this small building, I think it's about six units, one of those north-south kind of buildings. My family occupied 3 of those units. We had an aunt and a grandaunt and our family that lived there. And what had happened that night from that fire was retaliation for tenants who had dared to speak up and complain about their rights being abused, right? And those tenants were my mom and my tias, my aunts. And for me, being born and raised here, being from a family that is immigrant and having gone through all of those struggles, starting from my earliest memories, but then throughout life, for me is central, right? The struggles that I went through as a child are still very much happening here. There's a housing crisis, right? The struggles of not being able to, even if you're working a full-time job, be able to make enough to make the rent and to keep food on the table and to do all of those things. All of those struggles are so real. And so it's really my family, of street vendors and, janitors and taxi drivers and all of these things that they did to make ends meet. That's who I am. And that's, what I'm so proud, who I'm so proud to fight for in this community.
Pierina, your resume is impressive to say the least. When we talk about, Harvard, Princeton, the White House, there's a lot more even along the way when we talk about it. It's a lot of experience that you're bringing to the table. And, you credit a lot of that to the education that you were able to receive for that success. How important is it to you to help the children of the district have access to a quality public education?
It's fundamental. It is fundamental. I mean, it starts with that. Right. When I was about 13 years old, I went to this program at Bronx Community College called the Upward Bound program. It's a federally funded TRIO program that is for first generation kids whose parents and families have never been to college. And so that program helped me. We went on trips, we visited colleges, they advised, they were like, Pierina, just get involved in everything that you can while you're in school and make sure that you're showing your leadership in different ways. And so at that young age, at 12, 13 years old, getting into Upward Bound, that really did set me up to get to all my applications in, to get into Harvard University on a full scholarship. And, the carpet kind of continued on from there, always hustling, always fighting, always, trying my very hardest to be prepared for every step along the way. I'm an urban planner, so really focused on housing, economic development, and those kinds of issues. But getting our children early as we can, getting them at any stage, but getting them as early as possible into enrichment programs, into sports, into whatever we can so that they can cultivate themselves and they can find the best version of themselves. That's fundamental to what I want to work on and what I would want to fight for in the city council.
I want to talk about housing with you in just a second, but real quick, as we're talking about children here, those child tax credit payments, they just started going out. I know this is a program that you feel people in the district really need to be aware of and take advantage of, right?
Absolutely. We in District 14, actually, I'll speak of it in terms of the congressional districts, right? Because that's how a lot of the data is laid out. But Congressional District 15, represented by Congressman Richie Torres, is first in the nation in people who, not the child tax credit, but the earned income tax credit, families who are eligible who don't get and take advantage of the tax credit, right? And so we know that here in the district, I looked at it by zip codes, we have almost 4,000 children in 10452, 10453, 63, and 68, which are the ones that are in District 14. We have almost 4,000 children that could be eligible. Those families could be eligible for those $300 of payment per month. And we have to make sure to get the word out because they're eligible, but they may not know, or they might not file taxes, or they might not be, in the typical ways that the federal government is able to reach folks. We're a hard to reach community. So one of the biggest things that I want to do this summer is just continue to get that word out. So you'll see me on Facebook Live, you'll see me posting, you'll see me, sending out emails and things like that, because folks, you are eligible. If you have a child under 12 years old, you're eligible to receive up to $300 per child if your income qualifies. So get in the know about it and make sure that you're supporting your family with that.
So definitely a message that we need to get out there. Now, housing, land use, NYCHA, this is your bread and butter here. You were an advisor to City Hall. This is what you do. Those are major issues here, not just in the district, but in the borough all the way around. So what would you do and work towards here as a member of City Council if elected in November when we talk about those issues?
Absolutely. We have a housing crisis, right, in the city of New York, in the region, right? Before being in City Hall, I was a regional planner with the Regional Plan Association. And we do know that the crisis that we're facing is in the city, is in the region, and it's nationally. For low-income renters, for low-income households, we have a crisis of inequality that is exacerbating our ability to pay rent and make ends meet, right? And so for me, thinking about New York City, right? In New York City, oil is to Texas what land is to New York City. Right. And so as a city council member, one of the biggest powers that we have, one of the biggest authorities that we have is control over land. And so I'm laser focused on making sure that we are building more affordable housing, that we're building more opportunities for home ownership so that folks in the community can build equity, right, and make sure that, those savings help their kids go to college or go into an enrichment program, whatever the case may be. So I'm laser focused on making sure that our land use is producing homes that are affordable to folks in our community and that our community can also own, right? And that's a lot of stuff we have. We have some big projects coming down the pike in the district. The Kingsbridge Armory, we're all looking and watching and making sure that is going to develop. If it's not going to be the ice skating rinks, that there is a signed deal for, making sure that progresses to the future, and we're getting jobs, we're getting housing, we're meeting all of our needs for that. But then also we have a project that is, it's in the works. The proposal is in the works at Fordham Landing, so right under the 207th bridge that connects Inwood to our community. So making sure that proposal, that project is building housing that is going to be for us, right? That it's going to be for our folks here, but is also, not just apartments and by themselves, but are also, including community facilities, including schools. Our schools are overcrowded, including some of the retail. One of the things that retail space, one of the things that I heard a lot about from community members is, y'all, we're entrepreneurial. We have so many ideas for what we want to do and what we want to see here in the community. Why don't, when development is coming to our community, why don't we make sure that we can capture those spaces and that folks in the community can start up their own businesses and be supported in doing so.
Coming 2022, we're still going to be recovering from this pandemic at that point, whatever things look like then. Things are really getting better now, but it's not going to happen overnight. What is your plan for recovery here to help the people of the district?
Absolutely. It's those three challenges that have been with us for a long time intergenerationally, the housing inequality and housing affordability, jobs, right? Jobs that pay enough, and then education. With those three foundational pillars, I really think that, if we are able to get those right, if we're able to attract good jobs that, with, for example, good union wages, good union benefits, if we're able to attract those to the community for members of the community, then we're giving families a solid foundation, right? More families a solid foundation. So we have a good number of union jobs here in the community. Let's grow that. Let's organize further, right? Then the second pillar on housing, we just discussed it, so won't mention it too much, but making sure that we're building housing that is affordable to our community, that is for the folks here, right? And then making sure that the housing, when that's built, it also has the amenities in the community facilities so that our youth can be cultivated, right, and develop those young minds. And then education, right? We have this COVID achievement gap that, of course, unfortunately, a community like ours is hit even harder, right? So across the city, we've seen our children fall behind on their schooling, right? On their math, on their reading, and you name it, right? So making sure that as we look toward recovery, we are doubling down, extracurriculars, right? Extra time for kids. I know the de Blasio administration this summer has programming for free for kids, for anyone who has a child under 18 can participate. We have to make sure that becomes more of the norm, and especially in a district like ours where we have a dearth of after school programming, we have a dearth of community centers. We have to make sure that we bring that here. So we set the foundation, and then we'll see the sort of the ripple effects of positivity where quality of life improves, and we're able to really head toward a strong recovery here.
Pierina, the public safety here in the district is always at the forefront of everybody's minds. We've seen some really tragic shootings here in the borough as of late. I know there's a lot of programs that are going on in the city. I think I may have even seen you at a brag event here in the borough. But I mean, there's a lot going on here, and a lot of community activism going on to try to keep people safe and to increase public safety. But from a city council standpoint, what would you like to do to help make sure that people stay safe here in the district?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I always start by listening, right? Listening to what folks in the community want to see and where we want to go. And I think one thing that I started off with my hypothesis, right, about what is a safe community, what do District 14 neighbors want to see, right? And what I hear resoundingly is opportunity. Right? If we had activities, if we had a way to make sure that our kids stay on track, that would go a long way, right? In making sure that the community stays safer, because, we wouldn't have the involvement in the gang, the negative activities and all of that. We need jobs, we need all of these things. And so when I think about public safety, I think about those root causes of crime and of crimes of economic, nature. And I want to start off with that foundation. But, in addition to that, there's a lot of folks here in the neighborhood who want to see better police community relations. There's a lot of folks who want to make sure that, the community affairs at the 46th precinct, at the 52nd precinct, that they are completely integrated and working with all of the rest of the community institutions. So driving that and having the police be able to focus on what they're the best at, right? Where we have the cure violence folks, right? Like, at the brag event, where we have a supplementing of what the police does with this violence interruption, with treating violence as a disease, which is what it is, right? That is how it spreads. Retaliation, it spreads like a disease. And so for me, I think about, making sure that we are at the same time thinking about the long term, thinking about these opportunities, thinking about, how we strengthen and get out all of the resilience we know that we have here, how we tap on that potential and get the best out of our kids and neighborhoods, but also making sure that the violence that is here now, right now, that we're treating it with cure violence, that we're looking at models that work, and that we also, are improving our relationships and with the police, the local police, and making sure to pursue reforms at the citywide scale, which we know we absolutely need.
All right, Pierina, hang tight. I got one more question for you coming up. We got to take a quick break. More Power and Politics coming up in just a second. Welcome back, everyone. We're joined by Pierina Sanchez, the Democratic nominee for City Council District 14 in the Bronx. One more question for you before I let you go. We've been talking a lot about this wave of female representation in the City Council that we're going to be seeing here based off of what we've seen in the primary and what could happen in the general election in November. We've also seen a lot of Latina representation for this upcoming City Council. What does it mean to you to be a part of this wave that we're seeing towards the City Council for 2022?
I cannot tell you enough how exciting it is to be part of the first New York City Council body that is going to going to really approach representation of the city, right? I mean, when you are at the table, you don't have to yell from the sidelines. You don't have to worry about the fact that your interests are being represented, right? And that's what, to me, it means to have a city council that is going to be majority women. New York City, by the way, is also majority women, right? About 52%. And also, you know, we have queer representation, we have South Asian, Latino, African American. Like the city council is going to represent the city of New York in a way that it never has before. There's always more progress to be made, but there's really so much that we're going to do. So we're going to talk about issues of parity, pay parity. We're going to talk about issues of childcare, but we're also going to make sure that as we've been shouting from the sidelines for years and years and years, all issues are women's issues, right? All issues are issues of race. All issues are issues of gender and class, right? And so just making sure that this intersectionality that is existing in the next city council, that's also going to be part of what is how our legislation is going to be created, and it's going to be representative of everyone in our community, which is fantastic.
Pierina Sanchez, thank you so much for being here with us. Pleasure talking with you, and good luck in November. Looking forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you so much.